Seeing very different experiences between workers who can work at home, as you can see I am, or workers who are in protected industries that were less dramatically affected by COVID, and those whose livelihoods essentially disappeared.
Some jobs may never come back. Indiana's December unemployment report detailed the state's unemployment rate at 4.3% with a 64% labor force participation rate. So what's next for Indiana's jobs market? Nikki Dementri takes a look at the forecast.
A very big economic disruption this year.
A year economist Michael Hicks says is far worse than the Great Recession.
We're really talking about an economic event that is more like the Great Depression, especially for workers at the lower third or lower half of the income category.
In 2020, the director of Center for Business and Economic Research at Ball State University says 550 to 600,000 jobs statewide were lost. It happened, he says, in three ways. Traditional loss of jobs, workers who left the labor force, particularly parents of school-age children, and then workers in industries that are sensitive in day-to-day demand.
I mean, I was months shy of being there for 4 years when ultimately, I mean, we had been working from home for a short while before they kind of downsized even further.
That was in mid-April, and then Linda Cummings started collecting unemployment. The Cicero Mama 4 says her former employer told her they would bring her back, but that was months ago.
Thousands of Hoosiers, as you mentioned, lost their jobs because of COVID. What is the outlook for the next year for those Hoosiers?
We expect this year the economy to recover. We think growth will exceed 2% in 2021. A lot of that is dependent upon the vaccination really catching up enough.
But that's not without a hit to some industries like the service sector. Hicks says, quote, automation of labor markets is far more likely in the coming months.
I would be unsurprised if as many as 20% of displaced workers, so that's 100,000 workers here in Indiana, probably half of those in central Indiana, are at risk of not having those jobs return after COVID.
Short term, he thinks labor markets will improve, but slowly. Events like March Madness will spark a demand in some of the hardest hit industries.
Finding a job that is worth having daycare for 4 kids in the middle of a pandemic is easier said than done.
As for Cummings, she says she can't go back to work until her kids are able to return fully back to the classroom.
With the state of things, the kids' different schedules, a potential, further shutdown, different strains, I'm starting to feel like we'll be lucky if I get to even have an opportunity to look for a job before the kids' next school year.
Working for you, Nikki Dementri, WRTV.
As for a long-term outlook, Hick fears it may be 3 to 5 years before fully recovering. He hopes low interest rates will create new positions and more people will explore post-secondary education opportunities to set themselves up for more stable jobs.